Hey everyone, ready for another deep dive?
Let's do it.
Today we're tackling something I think we can all relate to, that
Yeah.
feeling of being like overrun with toys,
Oh, yeah.
especially if you have kids, right?
For sure.
We've got this super interesting article and
Ah,
it's got all this research and stories about like the whole toy phenomenon.
cool.
It's pretty wild. Like, just to kick things off, did you know that back in the early 2000s,
Okay.
the average middle class family had over 139 toys on display?
Wow.
And that's not even counting
Right.
what's hidden away.
Like in the closets and under the
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're going to dig into all that. It's
Awesome.
like, why are there so many toys these days? And is it actually a problem?
Right.
Have you noticed that too? Just like the sheer volume of toys just seems to
Oh yeah.
multiply?
It's like they reproduce when you're not looking.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially during the pandemic, it felt
Yeah.
like every birthday party ended with this mountain of gifts.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Did you see that too?
Definitely. And the article actually mentions that
Yeah.
toy sales jumped a ton, like from 22.3 billion in 2019 to 30.1 billion in 2021.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a huge increase.
It's huge.
Yeah.
So what's going on? What's driving this like toy explosion?
Well, one thing the article points out is that toys have gotten a lot cheaper over the years.
Really?
Yeah, like way more affordable. Like a toy that cost $20 back in 1993 would only be about $4.68 today.
Wow.
Yeah, because production costs have gone down,
I see.
partly because of overseas manufacturing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just so much easier now to fill those shopping carts
Right.
for ourselves and also like,
Yeah.
gift-giving relative.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, remember when you actually had to go to a toy store?
Oh, totally.
Like, toys are to find that one special thing.
Yeah.
I remember, like, begging my parents for this squishy eyeball back in the 90s.
The nostalgia.
Yeah.
But now you can just hop on Amazon a few clicks and that squishy eyeball's at your door in 2 days.
Exactly.
Online shopping's made it so easy.
It's so easy. But
Yeah.
I wonder if that convenience, like, actually contributes to the whole toy overload.
Yeah, maybe.
It's almost too easy for relatives to just click and send a gift without really thinking about if a kid actually needs or wants it.
That's true.
And then there's YouTube and all those unboxing videos.
Oh, yeah.
That's got to be a huge influencer.
Absolutely. Those videos are constantly showing off new toys.
Yeah.
And it's like a blurry line between entertainment and marketing.
Right.
The article even talks about shows like Gabby's Dollhouse,
Oh, okay.
which started as entertainment, but now it's got its own line of toys.
Why I see.
So it's like, where does the show end and the marketing begin?
Yeah, it's hard to tell.
It's hard to tell.
And don't even get me started on party favors.
Oh, yeah.
Every birthday party, it's like a bag full of plastic toys.
Yeah, instead of sugary treats, right?
Exactly. It's like they're trying to be healthier, but it just adds to this. Yeah. One expert called it a plastic graveyard.
I've heard that.
Yeah, it's true.
So I guess we've established there's a ton of toys out there,
Yeah.
but is having too many like actually a problem?
That's the big question, right?
Yeah.
And this article actually dives into some research that suggests toddlers actually play more creatively and for longer when they have fewer toys.
Really?
Yeah, there was this one study
Okay.
that found like the sweet spot for imaginative play was just 4 toys compared to like 16.
Wow.
That's a huge difference.
It is.
So what do you think is the optimal number of toys?
That's a good question. And the article mentions some preschools intentionally limit the number of toys.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's like they're creating a more focused play environment.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
So if fewer toys might actually be better for play, why do we keep buying more and more?
Well, the article talks about how toys are really social objects for kids.
Mhm.
It's not just about the play itself, but about connection and belonging.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I remember trading Pokemon cards back in elementary school.
Oh, yeah.
It was all about being part of that shared world with friends.
Exactly. And the article quotes this sociologist, Allison Pugh,
Okay.
and she explains that kids use toys to connect with their peers,
Uh-huh.
like whether it's having the same toy or playing together, or even just like sharing knowledge about a certain toy.
Right.
She even tells this story about her own kids creating these elaborate stories and games
Wow.
around a simple collection of rocks.
That's cool.
Yeah, it shows how much kids can do with their imagination, even without like traditional store-bought toys.
That's a great example.
Yeah,
It reminds us it's not about having the most expensive or trendy toys.
right.
It's about fostering imagination.
Yeah,
And you can do that by providing simple, open-ended things.
Like blocks or art supply.
Yeah, even things from nature like rocks and sticks and leaves. But the article also says there's a potential downside to this social aspect of toys, right?
Oh, definitely. If toys become like a status symbol,
Mm-hmm.
it can create this breeding ground for social comparison and even bullying
Right.
when kids don't have the same toys as their peers.
That makes sense.
And then there's the pressure on parents
Oh, yeah.
to buy those popular toys, which can be really hard for families on a budget.
Absolutely.
It's a tough situation for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tough spot to be in for sure. And the article uses an interesting term, toy stickiness.
Toy stickiness.
Yeah.
Okay, I gotta admit, when I first saw that phrase, I thought of those toys that are like impossible to get off your clothes after they've been stepped on.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing it's more about how long a toy can keep a kid engaged, not literally sticky.
It's about how well a toy can hold a child's attention over time.
Okay.
And the article contrasts those sticky toys with fads, the ones that are super exciting for a minute,
Oh, yeah.
but then quickly end up forgotten
Yeah.
at the bottom of the toy bin.
We've all fallen for those like flashy electronic toys that make a ton of noise,
Totally.
but then lose their appeal after a week.
Yeah, then you're stuck with the batteries to recycle
Exactly.
and a plastic toy that's destined for the landfill.
It's true.
The article suggests that simpler, open-ended toys like blocks
Okay.
or those classic animal figures tend to have more staying power
I can see that.
because they spark creativity and imagination.
It's like they don't tell you exactly how to play with them.
Exactly.
You can just kind of make up your own thing.
Right.
This whole conversation is making me think about what even defines a toy. Is it anything a kid decides to play with?
That's a great question, and the article emphasizes that it's the act of play itself that defines a toy.
Okay.
Kids can find opportunities for play in the most unexpected places, not just with those brightly colored store-bought items.
Oh, that reminds me of when my kid was obsessed with putting green goo in the freezer.
Ah, interesting.
They were fascinated by watching it freeze and thaw. Definitely not something I would have considered a toy, but for them it was hours of entertainment.
That's a perfect example
Yeah.
of how play can be found in everyday objects and experiences.
Right.
It's not always about the object itself, but how a child interacts with it.
It's a good reminder that we don't have to constantly buy new things to encourage play.
Yeah,
But let's be realistic, it's not always easy to control what kids want,
true.
especially with all the marketing and peer pressure out there.
Yeah.
So, do you have any advice for parents who are trying to navigate this overwhelming tide of toys?
Well, the article suggests a few practical strategies.
Okay.
First, try to focus on buying those sticky toys, the ones with lasting appeal.
Okay.
And remember, it's okay to say no to your child sometimes,
Right.
especially when those impulse buys start creeping in,
You're the adult.
right? You get to make those decisions.
It's true.
And if the toy overload has already taken over your home, the article recommends decluttering discreetly.
Decluttering discreetly.
Yeah,
So like a toy ninja.
exactly. You don't have to make a big announcement and stage a massive toy purge.
Right.
Instead, try gradually removing toys that are broken or missing pieces or just not being played with anymore.
Okay.
And if you're unsure about a toy's popularity, you can always try the box test.
The box test. Tell me more.
It's simple. You just put the toys in question in a box and store it out of sight.
Okay.
If your kid doesn't notice or ask for those toys after a while, it's probably safe to donate them or pass them on.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Takes the guesswork out of it.
Yeah. And might save a few parental meltdowns in the process.
Exactly.
But even with these strategies, it can still be a challenge,
Right.
especially when those gift-giving relatives come into play.
Yeah. Any tips for dealing with well-intentioned but potentially overwhelming gifts from grandparents, aunts, and uncles?
The article suggests having an open and honest conversation with those family members about your toy philosophy. You can explain that you're trying to be mindful of the number of toys in your home and that you prioritize experiences or sticky toys over the latest fads.
Right.
It's not about dictating what they can buy, but about getting them on the same page.
It's about setting expectations.
Exactly.
You could even offer alternative gift suggestions.
Yeah, like contributing to a college fund or a membership to a local zoo or museum.
Right. Things like that.
It shifts the focus from acquiring more stuff
Yeah.
to creating meaningful experiences.
And you can create a wish list
Oh, yeah, that's a great idea.
of approved toys.
That takes the guesswork out of gift giving for them.
Yeah.
and reduces the chance of ending up with a mountain of unwanted toys.
It's a win-win.
Exactly.
I think one of the biggest takeaways from this whole conversation is that we actually have more control than we think.
Yeah.
Even in a world of influencer marketing and endless online shopping options,
Right.
we can choose to be mindful about the toys we bring into our homes.
Absolutely. And we can focus on creating a playful environment where kids feel empowered to explore, imagine, and create.
Right, and it doesn't have to be a room full of toys. Okay, I want to touch on one more important point that the article brings up.
Okay.
It talks about the financial pressure parents feel to buy all the latest and greatest toys,
Mm-hmm.
and how that can be especially challenging for families on a budget.
Right.
Have you seen this in your work?
Oh, definitely. It's a real issue. And it's understandable that parents want to give their kids the best,
Yeah.
especially when they see other children with all the latest gadgets and gizmos.
Yeah, it's hard to resist those societal pressures,
For sure.
even when you know that happiness isn't really tied to material possessions.
Right. And the article really emphasizes the importance of talking to kids about money and values,
Oh, okay.
helping them understand that there are limits to what we can buy,
Uh-huh.
and that true happiness comes from experiences and relationships and those things that money can't buy.
That's such a good lesson to learn.
Yeah, and it can help kids develop a more balanced and fulfilling perspective on life.
This has been so eye-opening. We've covered
Yeah.
so much,
Make happen.
from the economics of toy production, yeah,
To the psychology of play, to practical decluttering tips, to like those deeper values.
It's been a fascinating journey,
it really has.
and I hope it's been valuable for our listeners too.
Me too. I think the biggest takeaway is that there's no right way to parent or to manage that toy chaos.
Yeah, one size doesn't fit all,
Exactly. It's about finding what works for your family
for sure.
and prioritizing the things that truly matter.
Like connection and creativity.
Yeah, and a love of learning.
Absolutely.
And it's so important to remember that play is not just for kids.
So true.
It's something we can all benefit from.
Play keeps us young at heart, sparks our creativity, and helps us connect with the world around us.
I love that. So to our listeners, we encourage you to keep exploring that fascinating world of play
Yes.
and find those moments of joy and connection in your own lives.
For sure.
Whether it's building a fort or getting lost in a good book or just spending time with loved ones.
Yeah.
Remember to embrace those moments of silliness and wonder. Okay, so we've talked about the importance of play and how to manage the toy influx and those sticky toys.
Right.
What else does this article say we should be thinking about?
One thing that really stood out to me was this idea of how toys can have social meaning for kids.
Social meaning.
Yeah, like certain toys hold a special status or significance within a child's social circle. Think about it like there might be a toy that's super popular on the playground, or it's featured in a YouTube video.
Okay, yeah,
And then owning that toy becomes a way for kids to fit in
I see.
or feel like they're part of the group.
Like a kind of social currency.
Exactly.
Ah.
Especially for younger kids who are still navigating those complex social dynamics.
It makes sense. I remember how important it was to have the right sneakers in middle school.
Oh, yeah. We've all been there.
It seems silly now, but back then it felt like everything.
We all want to feel accepted and connected.
Yeah.
And sometimes those objects can seem like a shortcut to belonging.
But the article also talks about how there can be some downsides to this whole social aspect of toys.
Oh, for sure. It acknowledges that this focus on social status can lead to comparisons and competition, and even bullying.
Right.
It can be really tough for kids who don't have the same toys as their classmates.
It's heartbreaking to think about a kid feeling left out or inferior because of a toy.
It is, and it highlights how important it is to talk to kids about these things.
Yeah.
We need to help them build a healthy sense of self-worth that isn't based on what they own.
So it's about teaching them those intrinsic values,
Exactly.
like kindness and empathy and inclusivity.
It's about helping them understand that true friendships are built on shared interest and genuine connection.
Right, not on who has the best stuff.
Exactly.
Wow, this deep dive has been so eye-opening.
It has. We've covered so much.
From like the economics of toy production to the psychology of play, even practical tips for decluttering,
Right.
and then those deeper values too.
Yeah, it's been a fascinating journey,
It really has.
and I hope our listeners have gotten a lot out of it.
Me too.
Yeah.
I think what I'm taking away from this is that there's no one right way to parent
Yeah.
or to deal with the toy craziness that seems to happen in every house.
It's about finding what works for your family,
Exactly, and focusing on the things that really matter.
like connection and creativity and the love of learning.
Yeah, and it's so important to remember that play isn't just for kids.
So true. It's for all of us.
Play keeps us young at heart, it sparks our creativity, and it helps us connect with the world.
Absolutely.
So to our listeners, we encourage you to keep exploring that world of play.
Yes.
Find those moments of joy and connection.
For sure.
Whether it's building a fort or reading a good book or just hanging out with loved ones,
Those little moments.
embrace the silliness and the wonder.
I love that.
That's what it's all about.
It is. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
And until next time, happy playing.